let's start talking about Jaxson Dart and BYU, because I do think this is by far the biggest story of the day. And here's what I would tell you about Jaxson Dart. I think if Jaxson Dart were making this decision on his own, Jaxson Dart would be going to BYU. Jaxson Dart told, from what I understand, what my sources tell me at BYU, is that Jaxson Dart has told them he was leaning to BYU. He very clearly said that to Lane Kiffin, who came out and visited Jaxson Dart again yesterday. And by all accounts, this is not really about Jaxson Dart, because Jaxson Dart and Michael Trigg want to be a package deal. And knowing that that's the case, Lane Kiffin got very aggressive. And I think really the situation with Michael Trigg is Trigg doesn't want to play at BYU. I think that's very clear. From what I understand, he has not taken a visit to BYU. He has gone to Oklahoma and he has gone to Ole Miss. And very clearly, if you look at Twitter last night, Oklahoma fans were all pissed off, because what I was told is that Michael Trigg far preferred his visit to Ole Miss than he did to Oklahoma. He didn't feel as though he was the top priority at Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. He felt like Jaxson Dart was the top priority and that he was kind of a package deal, so to speak. Whereas at Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, who is an elite recruiter, made Michael Trigg and Jaxson Dart feel like they were top priorities, which, by the way, is something that the best of the best do. When you are great with people and relationships, everybody you come into contact with is the most important person you're coming into contact with.
Yeah.
And in college football, when you're talking about, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, they want to feel like the king of the world. And I think, Michael Trigg is a guy who could easily get lost in the wash of Jaxson Dart. Mm-hmm. Jaxson Dart was a top 10 quarterback. He, I think, was the number 2 recruit in Utah when he came out two years ago now. He's a huge recruit, Jaxson Dart. But Michael Trigg is a very talented tight end, a very talented receiving prospect. Yes. He's a guy, in my opinion, Jake, that has just as much value. But obviously the big prize here is Jaxson Dart. Mm-hmm. And I think if it was just Jaxson Dart, Jaxson would be going to BYU. I think his preference, if all things were equal, would be to go to BYU.
Yeah.
But all things are not equal. And it is always nice to show up in a new place with a familiar face. And I think that Jaxson Dart wants to play with Michael Trigg. They want to play together. And I think the only way that happens is if they go to Ole Miss. And as I've said, I believe that they will end up at Ole Miss.
Yeah, and I think we need to the narrative is changing in college football, just generally speaking. I think we're no longer, the transfer portal is not what I call it anymore. I call it college football free agency, because that's what it is. These guys know who they are, they know where they are, and they know where they're going, which is the NFL. And it's just going to be a question of who's going to be the chariot that takes them to millions of dollars in generational wealth. So when I look at this situation, I say, okay, Jaxson Dart clearly is somebody, and Michael Trigg to a lesser extent, but Jaxson Dart clearly is somebody who wants to be in the spotlight. You don't go to USC if you don't want to be in the spotlight. So when I hear, okay, BYU is chasing this kid, Ole Miss is chasing this kid, Oklahoma's chasing this kid, I just simply say, who's not chasing this kid? So it really comes down to, what him and Trigg can agree on. And to me, when I look at the situation, if I'm Michael Trigg, I look at the great tight ends in college football recently who have gone in the NFL.
Yes.
Florida put out some guy, other programs in the SEC has put out some guys. So to me, if I'm Michael Trigg, yeah, you're damn right, I'm going to the SEC for sure. Not even a question about it. And it's just going to be a matter of what I'm going to have to do with Jaxson Dart to make that happen. And so, yeah, I agree. If it was just Jaxson Dart, BYU's chances go up exponentially. But being that they're doing this whole package deal thing, I think the SEC is the front runner. I think it has been and always will be. And I think the SEC, with all due respect to BYU, is the fastest track to the NFL.
See, I don't know that I agree with that. I think when you look at what has happened at BYU in recent years, and obviously now you're looking at a longer form, and I know that BYU is TDS, and if you want to play in the NFL, you're going to go to Utah.
Stop disrespecting me, bro.
Yeah, unless your name is Danny Sorensen or Kyle Vanoy or Fred Warner or, I don't know, maybe Zach Wilson, who went number 2 in the draft, and to the New York Jets. And BYU is no longer a second-tier program. And I think one of the things that BYU has certainly won in this state of Utah is the branding war. But if you're Michael Trigg and you're out of Tampa, Florida, obviously you'd rather go to Ole Miss. It's the SEC. It's the brand you've grown up with, and you're closer to home.
Mm-hmm.
You're what is he? 6'4", 250 at this point?
Yeah.
I mean, he is a guy
Stud
that sees his future. And I mean, you look at the Travis Kelce's of the world, the Rob Gronkowski's of the world, Michael Pitts. You look at the prolific tight ends in the NFL, and you understand that you have a very, as you astutely said, you have a very clear path to the NFL if you go to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I just don't think Michael Trigg understands that you have a clear path to the NFL at BYU. The issue is always going to be the stigma around the church, being LDS, the honor code, girls in your dorm room, sex through jeans.
I just don't think a guy like Michael Trigg wants to worry about any of that, whether it's true or not.
I said sex through jeans.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
The point is, I think you're right. Michael Trigg doesn't want to worry about that.
Yeah.
I think that Jaxson Dart, I don't think has any problem with any of the issues, if you will, that 19, 20-year-old kids have with BYU. I think there's a certain lifestyle that comes with BYU that Michael Trigg's not going to be comfortable with. But I also think that, by the way, going to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin is not a half-bad option.
No.
It's not. Now, all of us that follow football in this state understand that BYU brings you ESPN. BYU brings you a Power 5 schedule. BYU brings you access to huge games in front of huge audiences. There is no better football atmosphere in the country this past season than Lavelle Edwards Stadium with The Rock, with the fan base, with the sellouts, with the enormity of the games. I mean, this is a team that was playing for a college football playoff spot right up until the end of the season. I mean, you have huge snaps of the football all throughout September, October, November for BYU this past year. I don't know that Michael Trigg has any idea about that. Oh, wait, certainly he does. They were at USC and they got beat by BYU.
Yeah.
So when you look at the situation, I just think a guy like Jaxson Dart's going to be a hell of a lot more comfortable at BYU because he knows it.
Yeah.
This is a local kid. I think, unfortunately for BYU, and the reason I believe that Jaxson Dart and Michael Trigg will end up at Ole Miss is because Michael Trigg's not coming to BYU. And I think ultimately these two want to play together.
Mm-hmm.
I will restate again the same thing I've said all along. My firm belief, and from what I'm told, Jaxson Dart had an incredible visit at BYU. He told BYU that he was very impressed with the direction, with the entirety of the program. He told BYU on Saturday, from what I understand, that he was leaning towards BYU, but that Michael Trigg was undecided and that Trigg was not going to come and take a visit at BYU.
Yeah.
And to me, all the writing on the wall says they're going to Ole Miss, and I think that announcement could happen as soon as this morning. But I think, again, it's unfortunate because Jaxson Dart, I think, could be a superstar. I think Jaxson Dart would be a rock star at BYU.
Yeah, and I think he would continue the trend of what, Zach Wilson started. I mean, more importantly, I think that would be a like I said yesterday, I think it'd be a coup in college football if they were able to land Jaxson Dart and Michael Trigg as a package deal. I think the way it looks, like we cover BYU locally, so we know what BYU has to offer. But if you zoom out of that and you put yourself in the shoes of a Florida kid who grew up in the South and is about that culture, like I think you're asking a lot for a kid from that background to be like, yeah, I want to go to BYU and be in Utah where there's no beaches and it doesn't sound fun at all. Like I just don't think that that's realistic. And so, and I also think if we think about the dynamic between these two, Jaxson Dart and Michael Trigg, I mean, let's be honest. If you're Michael Trigg, you're saying to Jaxson Dart, look, dude, no matter where you go, you're going to the league. Like, we just know that. Like, we understand that. You're going to get, like at BYU, you'll be on ESPN and all that good stuff. Like, you're going to make it. I need to go somewhere where I know that I can play in massive college football games no matter what. And that's the SEC. And I know I'm not saying that BYU doesn't put guys in the league because they do. But I just think it's a lot to ask of a Florida kid who doesn't watch BYU, doesn't know BYU, didn't go to Corner Canyon. Like, I just think it's a lot, man. And that's why I wasn't surprised to hear once I found out this was a package deal type situation. Immediately I felt like BYU was out of it just because of the Michael Trigg dynamic, not because Jaxson Dart wouldn't go to BYU.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you just have to come to terms with is at BYU, and I think most BYU fans recognize that you're not going to have access to every recruit in the country. You're just not. I mean, obviously, Oklahoma's going to open some, or excuse me, the Big 12's going to open some doors for you.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have access to every kid in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, kids that grow up in Tampa don't know about BYU. They don't know about the LDS Church.
What do they know about? They know about the Tim Tebow Florida Gator teams. They know about, hey, Alabama and the SEC is a power conference that if I'm going to get to the league, I got to go that route. Right? I got to go and do some things in the SEC. I have to do that. That's what they know about because that's where they're from, So, yeah. I mean, if you're BYU and you're looking at recruiting strategy, you have an understanding that because of the dynamics at BYU, and I'm not saying they're bad with the faith and everything. I'm not trying to be negative, but the fact is there is a dynamic at play there with kids from the East Coast and the Southeast and all those people. So I just think that overall BYU is doing a great job, but at the end of the day, you're not going to get every kid. Yeah.
No, and I just think that I just don't know that BYU can pull Michael Trigg. And in fact, he hasn't even visited BYU.
Yeah.
So I just think that Jaxson Dart and Michael Trigg are a package deal. From what I understand, that's been roundly talked about everywhere they've been. And I think Ole Miss offers them the best opportunity to live that out.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a knock on BYU. I think BYU is going to be very happy with Jaren Hall being injured all year next year again.
It's such a frustrating thing.
It is, but I also think that you really need to invest in Jacob Conover now.
Yeah.
I think that if I'm BYU, it's status quo. I'm developing that kid because I understand that I am the only singular guy in this state outside of Jacob Conover who believes in Jacob Conover.
You're casual.
Yeah, I'm a casual. I get it. I believe the guy can play at a very high level. I think when you look at his skill set and you look at where he's come from, the kid is no slouch, yet he's not getting opportunities. And I think, and I love Kalani Sitake. I am a supporter. I think he made a terrible, terrible mashup of the quarterback situation last year. In my opinion, you should have played Jaxson Dart. You should have played Jacob Conover. And I understand why you want to go and get Jaxson Dart, but please do not make Jaxson Dart an indictment on Jacob Conover, which some BYU fans are doing.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Jacob Conover's a guy that has the talent to take you everywhere that you want to go. And I will again say that Jaren Hall's not some throwaway terrible quarterback, but he's not elite. He is an average quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And until he gets himself to a place where he can play 10, 12 games and be a guy that can take a hit and can be more durable because he's a mobile quarterback. If Jaren Hall is standing in the pocket throwing the football, he's not nearly as complete as he is when he runs.
Yeah.
But when he runs, he gets hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you now, I can only say it so many times. Your best ability is your availability. And if Jaren Hall's not going to play 10, 12 games a year, what's the point?
Yeah.
Because you cannot continue to play two quarterbacks every year. Look at the teams that win at a very high level. Physically, they are on a different level than BYU. And I think when you look across the country and you look at the young quarterbacks that are impacting teams, go no further than Georgia. Stetson is a stud. Like, he's a guy who steps in. JT Daniels transfers again. Like, you have the opportunity with these young guys to develop them and turn them into, franchise level quarterbacks.
Well, and I think that's what the great programs do. I mean, I think that the truth of the matter is like, we can talk about how good BYU has been at recruiting and doing things and making things happen and bringing in, names like Zach Wilson. But the fact is 90% of the recruiting pool is like, if you believe in the star system or whatever, just as an example, you're looking at 1 or 2 star guys that you need to turn into 4-star, 4.5-star, even maybe a 5-star recruit. It's your job as a program to be, for lack of a better terminology, a football factory. Hey, I'm going to take this kid in Jaxson Dart, who went to Corner Canyon and clearly has talent, but maybe his motion sucks. Maybe he throws the ball in a very inefficient way, and I'm going to develop that, and I'm going to turn him and put him in a position to be successful, so that in his junior year, when we start his ass on the field against Utah in the Holy War, he's capable and he can throw that 70-yard bomb down the field. I mean, that's what the great programs do. That's what Florida and Alabama and Ole Miss have done. That's where your Johnny Manziels come from. That's where the great names in college football are made.
But I think you also look at the transfer portal now and the way it's changed. I mean, I look at a guy like a Jalen Hurts, a Kyler Murray. I look at guys like a Russell Wilson who changed schools mid-career and went on to be dominant performers. I don't think there is any shame. We tend to demean guys that transfer. And I know historically it is very difficult to transfer and be a stud. But that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
And that's why I say a guy like Jaxson Dart coming to Provo, I think he would absolutely be a stud here.
Yeah.
And I think he would absolutely be at the top of the draft board when he goes out. But I'm telling you, my firm belief is in what most people, and I think without directly telling me, I think most people in Provo believe he's going to end up at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Because I think they're resigned to the fact they don't have a chance to even recruit Michael Trigg because he's not interested.
And I think if you're BYU, you shouldn't feel like, oh man, we're just not good enough to go and get Michael Trigg. I just think it's not really a not good enough conversation.
Not at all.
It's more about the dynamic and what the kid wants and what the kid is looking for.
But I also think what it tells you is that there is a branding messaging challenge at BYU because
hurdle.
Hurdle. That's the right word, because I do think that Kalani Sitake, and I think Bronco started this as well. The days of the disgrace and the have to withdraw and the Harvey Unga situations at BYU, I think those days are behind us.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you look at Jamal Williams and his situation and the things he went through at BYU and the time he pulled away from the program, I mean, the guy still winds up an integral part of the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
You look at, you can do it. Are there some guys that are going to have challenges at BYU? Sure there are. But again, I just go back to the fact that we now have a transfer portal. And you want to be a hot commodity? Be a hot commodity. I think it's 61% of SEC kids in the transfer portal have found a new home.
And I think the question we should also ask, and I don't mean to turn this into a BYU versus Utah thing, but I think it's no secret that Utah has never had, with all due respect to Cam Rising, Utah has never, or in recent history, I shouldn't say never, but in recent history hasn't had the big time quarterback name, and come into the program and like really change the fate of the offense at that program. So to me, when I hear about Jaxson Dart and BYU and this whole dynamic, I also think, why are we not hearing about Utah being in this mix? Why are we not hearing about Utah at least going after him and trying? I mean, I understand if you can't get him, but at least try.
I think Kyle Whittingham's one real, oddity, one knock against him has been his inability to recruit a dynamic quarterback. But I don't know that he's really looking for that.
Yeah.
I think I think Kyle Whittingham would love a game manager and a really good defense.
Yeah.
A national contending defense.
That's what they've been.
And I think that's who you are as a program. And I think any expectation to the variant there is a mistake. Whereas at BYU, you've consistently had prolific performers at the quarterback position. And I think that, you look at Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill's an NFL quarterback.
Taters.
Like the Taysomator. Taters, please. The Taysomator. You look at, I know, you get my point. Like BYU is a quarterback school.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is you can expect to perform at a high level.
Yeah.
And you can expect to go at the top of the draft if you perform at a high level. You know, like, I mean, you're going to have the Tanner Mangums of the world, but I think for every Tanner Mangum, you've had a Taysom Hill, a Zach Wilson. You know, you look at, you have a Heisman Trophy winner. Like, you have lineage and history at BYU. And I just, you know, and I probably inflate BYU's value more than most, but I think I see a clear path to the NFL there.
I don't think it's too much to say there's a clear path to the NFL. I don't think the conversation now more than ever, like the whole concept of, oh, well, BYU can't put guys in the league is just it's just a garbage take. I mean, you've got a laundry list of guys in the last 5 years who have gone to the league who had awesome careers at BYU. So the conversation is not, hey, does BYU put guys in the league? Yes, BYU puts guys in the league, but the conversation really is, and again, this doesn't really apply to Jaxson Dart because Jaxson Dart, I agree, would go to BYU in a second if Michael Trigg wasn't, this whole package deal thing wasn't a thing. But I think the conversation is BYU is not attractive to an athlete from the Southeast who grew up going to the beach, who grew up with in a warm climate, like again, just on a surface level, again, you're going from Florida weather, beaches, friends, hometown feelings, the SEC,
well,
like
and
all that stuff.
Let's not underwrite the fact that Michael Trigg is black.
Yeah.
And I think there's also, and I write it off largely when I hear it, but I think there's also a stigma that African Americans in Provo, there's not a huge black community in Provo.
No, there's
not. And I think that the minority community is something that I think is underserved. I think when you grow up in the cities in Florida, you see a lot of people who look like you. And frankly, I think when you come to Utah, and specifically when you go to Provo and you're black or Latino, I don't think a lot of people that look like you.
No.
And I think outside of the football program, you're going to have trouble finding a lot of community. If you're a black man in Provo, you're going to have a tough time finding a lot of community.
Yeah, I think that's just generally speaking. I don't even think that's a BYU thing. I think that's a state of Utah thing. I mean,
yes.
We've lived, a brief history on us. I mean, we've lived everywhere from, Chicago, St. Louis,
LA.
Southern California, the Bay Area, Phoenix. I mean, we've lived in a lot of places.
The difference between the Bay Area and Utah is night and day. I mean, when I look at the West Coast and football on the West Coast,
yeah,
I think you look at Oregon's a better example, right? Eugene, Oregon, right? That's not a melting pot, but you also have Justin Herbert and Marcus Mariota that are both in the NFL,
yep.
right? If I look at, if I look at USC, I mean, USC's got a laundry list of Heisman Trophy candidates, and it's quarterback right?
Reggie.
You have to compete against that.
Yes.
If you are BYU. And then when you go into the Big 12, and I think this is an advantage for BYU. When you go into the Big 12, it's not like you have a massive quarterback history in the Big 12. Because let's be honest, you don't. I mean, if you look at recent times, I mean, obviously Baker and Kyler at Oklahoma and to a lesser extent, I look across the Texas. When's the last time Texas had a prolific quarterback in the NFL? I don't even know that Vince Young counts.
Sam Ehlinger is the last big name to come out of Texas.
And what has Sam Ehlinger done?
He's been a backup.
I mean, to me,
just so you know, he's in Indy as a backup.
Yeah, I think to me, I look at Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is probably right now, one of the bigger names to come out of Oklahoma, and he started at Alabama. I just think that BYU has a big history advantage on a lot of programs in the Big 12. I mean,
but does that outweigh some of those stigmas and challenges that we've discussed?
I think it does. I think it does. I mean, kids care about being on national TV, and kids care about going to the NFL.
Yeah, that ESPN contract is a huge thing.
Well, and I also think the last 5 years of consistently putting guys in the NFL, and you got a bunch of BYU alums that are walking around with Super Bowl rings. I mean,
that's true.
You think about that, and you look at Fred Warner.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy, he's arguably the best middle linebacker in the NFL.
Yeah, and by the way, he won those Super Bowls before even coming into his prime as an athlete. I mean, now he's come into his prime.
I think Kyle Van Noy is a guy that is who you're talking about coming into his prime. Yeah. But I look at Fred Warner being one of the best middle linebackers in the NFL on a marquee franchise in San Francisco. But Van Noy is interesting to me because Kyle Van Noy is a dark-skinned guy that has Super Bowl rings, and he went to BYU.
And by the way, it's not BYU, it's Brigham, okay?
It's Brigham. Thank you, Kyle. But I think all of that made to round this conversation out. Yeah. I think Jaxson Dart and Michael Trigg are going to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I think that's where most people are leaning, and I think but I do think the future's bright, and I'm begging you, Kalani Sitake, develop Jacob Conover. Have an open quarterback competition, because I am telling you, as much as I respect when Jaren Hall is 100%, the guy's a difference maker, but he rarely is.
Yeah.
Jacob Conover's a stud, and he is waiting to happen. Let's get
question.
Yeah, let's get some of your comments in here. And again, I'm really sorry. A lot of people are asking when the audio starts. I think we started about 10 minutes into the video today.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties and stuff.
Yeah, we use an iPad to connect to a Mevo
and
to
stuff.
Your mom. And
yeah.
It just didn't work today for whatever reason. Let's see. Good morning, guys. I'm not sure where you're getting your information, but I think they're going to Oklahoma. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Could be. Maybe they end up at Oklahoma. Jeremy Bolton says, BYU doesn't need Jaxson. We have a better version anyway of him. See Exhibit A, Jaren F. Hall.
No,
Jeremy,
we're not doing that.
I love you, dude. Jaxson Dart is a superior quarterback to anybody that is on the BYU roster.
He would be the best quarterback in the state of Utah.
I have no doubt about that.
Just saying.
I mean, and by the way, if you have the opportunity to add a talent like Jaxson Dart to your quarterback roster, you would absolutely do it. You'd absolutely do it.
Yeah.
Now, if he doesn't go to BYU, nothing changes. The world is not ending. You have talent at quarterback at BYU. You just need to develop that. Jeremy Bolton also says, I say that totally tongue in cheek. I'd actually love to have Dart come into BYU. More competition is better. Chris Karn, good morning to you. Dart would Levi love his way to the NFL in Provo. I see Jeans.
Right. Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Mark Stevens says, when does the audio start? At about 10 minutes. Jalen Mayaski. Sorry if I got that wrong. Bama, Clemson, Oklahoma all have elite QB talent throughout their QB rooms. If you want to be like them, we need to recruit like them. Kalani wouldn't recruit someone if he didn't think would help the program. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Chris Karn says, Conover had an offer from effing Bama. He's the real deal and needs a legit shot. I agree. I don't know why BYU fans soured so much on Jacob Conover.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't understand it. You know what I mean? It is baffling. Jalen says, Dart is proven. I'm taking Dart. He has experience, not discrediting Conover. I think he's legit, but you take the QB that has the experience. Same reason Romney was second string over Conover. Absolutely. I mean, if Jaxson Dart chooses BYU, I think he's not number 2. I think he's number 1. And absolutely, Jacob Conover in that situation, I'd have it be Dart, Conover, Jaren Hall. I'd have them compete and then make a decision. But I would do everything I can do to take the youngest guy that's got the best talent and make him a number 1 and develop him. In that group, you know, if the season started today, I would go Dart, Jaren Hall, and Jacob Conover. And my guess is if Jaxson Dart shows up, Jacob Conover is going to transfer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? You're a prolific talent that needs to play.
Yeah.
And I think being third on a depth chart is not the way to get to the NFL. Let's see. Chris Karn also says Dart has played 3 games at USC. He played at an elite level for 1/2 of those 3 games. His upside is huge, but I'm not sure he's proven yet. I would agree with that. Yep. And Chris also says Utah's where mid-level QBs go to die. Man, have we seen that happen. Cam Rising did change the program. We were 1-2 when he took over, but he took over for a noodle arm, mentally soft quitter.
Yeah.
And he played really well. And we won the Pac-12, went to the Rose Bowl. I mean, if that isn't taking over, I don't know what is. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, he took over the program, but my point is Cam Rising is not Cam Rising wouldn't start on a national championship team. He wouldn't. That's just not like he can win you a conference, sure, but he's not a good enough quarterback to be the best of the best in the country. And that's what I think Utah's, and I don't think it'll happen with Kyle Whittingham because Kyle Whittingham likes defense and likes running backs, But I do think at some point, whether you're BYU or Utah, you got to start having that mindset. Hey, who do we need to go and get to compete against the best teams in the country? Because that's what you're playing for at this point.
Yeah, and I think when I think of the best quarterbacks in the country, I mean, obviously you're talking about guys like Bryce Young, Stetson Bennett, C.J. Stroud at Ohio State. Caleb Williams is in the portal.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Heisman Trophy guy from Oklahoma. He's in the portal. He has not committed to USC yet, which is interesting. I think a lot of people are wondering what he's doing. Can you imagine if Jaxson Dart goes to Ole Miss and USC loses out on Caleb Williams?
Yeah, that'd be rough.
That'd be rough. But anyway, I think Cam Rising's a top 10 quarterback in the country. I mean, I know he's number 6 on total QBR at ESPN. So
yeah.
I mean, you look
that
at him.
That might be true, but I don't think that he passes the eye test in terms of the best of the best.
Well, he's not. He's not Stroud, Young, Bennett, Williams. I mean, he's not that guy. I don't even know that he's, a guy like a Matt Carroll. I don't know. I mean, I look at guys like, Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yeah.
That's a guy that you can replace.
Yeah.
But then again, you play for Chip Kelly. That system's complex. Like, I just think my point in all of this is, you have a dearth of talent at Utah and BYU.
Yeah.
You need to rise those ships, right? You need the tide to come up. Jaxson Dart does that. He makes every quarterback in the state better the moment that he steps into BYU, which unfortunately I don't think is going to happen.